Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning, and today we've got another very highly requested combination for a new set of shells that just released to the market. We have tried a different shot size of these last week with some super impressive results, and now we've got this version of them out with a combo that a lot of you guys really wanted to see. So I am definitely excited to see what it can do because I'm thinking we should see some really impressive results. But as for those shells I've got today, I brought out some of these, the new Winchester Longbeard TSS shells. These ones are the 12 gauge 3-inch 2 3/8 ounce payload of TSS 8 shot, moving about 1100 feet per second. Last week we tested these in the 9 shot and they were pretty deadly to say the least. So I expect the 8s to do pretty much the same, and with them being a little bit bigger of a TSS pellet, you're going to be hitting them with even more energy. And a 2 3/8 ounce payload is a lot of pellets flying down range, so these should give us a really impressive result. And as for the setup we're going to be running them through, I brought out my Mossberg 835 Ulti-Mag, and I threw in this choke since a lot of you guys wanted to see it. This is the Indian Creek 675 constriction turkey choke. We've seen a lot of really good results with this combination in the past, and with a TSS 8 going through this 675, it should give us a really impressive looking pattern. But these 835s are overboard to a 10 gauge bore size, so we haven't tested any of these new Longbeard TSS loads with an overboard barrel yet, so I guess we're just going to have to see what they can do. But as for today's test, everything is set up the same as usual. I've got the turkey target at 40 yards, and I've got the chronograph so we can get our velocity from the show. So enough talking, let's get you guys a view of that target and just see what the new Longbeard TSS 8 shot loads can do through the Mossberg 835 and the Indian Creek 675. I think it should be pretty impressive, but let's take our shot and just see what kind of a pattern they can actually give us. Alright, so that shell gave us 1174 through the chrono. The boss claim is 1100. However, last week when we tested the 9-shot version, I believe they were 1140 something. So these new Longbeard shells seem to be bouncing right around the mid 1100 mark, which is a perfectly fine velocity for them. So we're looking pretty decent for velocity up here, but what kind of a pattern did it give us down at 40? Let's go down and check it out and see how impressive it might be. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is the pattern that they gave us. Now, yes, we were just a touch off to the right there, which, if I'm remembering correctly now, after the fact, I believe that particular choke and shotgun combo does hit just slightly off to the right, and I forgot about it. But that's why we use the backer, so we can see the whole pattern, and we definitely saw a very nice pattern here. There's no doubt about that. If that was a little bit more centered up, he would absolutely be a crushed turkey all day long. And even then, we still have multiple through the brain and a ton more down the spine, so it does give you leeway to work with as well. So definitely a very solid pattern here all day long. I wouldn't be scared in the slightest to hunt with that pattern one bit. In the core, there's really no voids or anything larger than, I don't know, about a quarter. So the main central core area of the pattern there is pretty uniform and pretty even overall. Definitely nothing to complain about there. It might not be the hottest core we've ever seen out of a TSS shell, but it's an even spread of pellets. Now around the edges, we definitely saw a little bit of straggly stuff. There's some flyers up there at the top, and over here across the left and down low and stuff, there's a little bit of sporadic stuff out there. So I definitely think we've still got some tuning to do here. If we can condense those little flyers and the edges of that pattern just a little bit into a little bit more even or round of a condensed pattern, then we might really have something here. But still, this is a very usable pattern as it is. I just think we can get a little bit better out of it, especially for the price point of these shells. For a box of 5, they're running about $70 right now, which is not cheap at all. And for a $70 box of shells, although this is not a bad pattern whatsoever, I think we should be able to get a little bit more out of it for that kind of price. So for just a debut starting point for us anyway here on this channel with these Longbeard TSS 8 shot, I think we're at a good starting point. It's a very usable pattern the way it is. I wouldn't hesitate to take that out on a turkey hunt, but I definitely think we can dial it in a little bit. Now, is that going to take a little little bit more constriction to do, or who knows, maybe they might just perform a little better through a standard bore instead of the 835 overbore. I don't know yet, but we've got a handful more of these shells, so we're going to be testing them and seeing what they like and don't like. At least the main majority area of our pattern throughout our core there is a nice uniform even spread of pellets. So we know we should have a good core really no matter what choke we put them through in the grand scheme of things. It's just tuning the edges in. So definitely not a bad start here, and I'm excited to keep testing these to see what more we can actually get out of them. Okay, and here's the wad from that shell, and if you have ever tested or seen any of our herders TSS patterns that we've tested here on the channel, then you'll immediately recognize this wad. I do believe it's probably the exact same wad they use in those herders TSS shells, which does make sense considering that herders is made by Winchester. But we know these wads are some very consistent and reliable performers. You can see we have a couple little pinholes along the edges here, but there's nothing stuck down in there. It opened up pretty much as perfectly even as it typically does when we see these wads. So nothing immediately surprising or that I'd be concerned about. This is a very common way for wads to look going through an Indian Creek choke. So definitely nothing out of the ordinary. And I think the wad did its job for today, but I still think we can find a choke that works just a little bit better with these as well as we continue to test them. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about those results right there? That is still a very deadly pattern all day long. If it was centered up a little bit better there, it would look even more impressive. So we definitely saw a very nice pattern there that I wouldn't be scared to hunt with in the slightest. I really like the central 10, 12 inches or so of that pattern. It's nice and even. There's no voids larger than about a quarter or so in there. So really not much to speak of on that. Very solid core. Now the edges aren't perfect. We definitely have a few flies and a little bit of straggly stuff around the edges. I think with the right choke, we can definitely tune that in a little bit, maybe in the 870 or the 1187, or just a little bit different choke in the 835 might really bring these in that little bit more that I would like to see them, especially at $70 a box. I definitely think at that price point, we can get a little better out of these than that. But still, not a bad pattern whatsoever here. And I'd say it's a pretty good starting point for us because it's already plenty good enough the way it is. So I guess leave all your thoughts in the comments. Is that about what you expected to see? Or were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you had the chance to test any of the new Longbeard TSS shells yet? And if so, what has been your experience with them? And is there another specific setup or choke combo that you would like to see us run these shells through? Let me know all that down below. At the end of the day here, we really can't argue too much with that pattern. It is more than good enough for a 40-yard turkey hunt all day long. But if we want to get a little bit picky, we can try to bring those edges in just a little bit. But still, not bad whatsoever overall. So with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like to. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.